Hey guys, I'm Hamrozi and happy Ramadan. Today we're going to take a look on how to create this beautiful stylized lantern as well as the typography to create this even more beautiful page. We're going to utilize the gradient, clip mask, and coupling it with blurry stuff. Let's get into it. So here we are on the Inkscape interface. First of all, let's set up our document so we can work with it better. So go to the file, document properties. So let's change the unit here into pixels as well as the display units into pixels. And for the width and height, it's going to be 1080 by 1080 pixels. So we end up with a square document like this. First of all, the thing that we're going to create is the lantern, its shape over here. And we're going to create the dome as well as the base, as well as the middle part, as well as the knot and the rope. So let's create the dome first by using the pen tool over here, or by pressing B on the keyboard to have it. So I'm gonna left click on this part over here, and then I'm gonna hold left click and just drag it in on the top part over here, around that, and then I'm gonna go to the top over here, hold left click and drag it out like this. And I'm gonna right click to apply that, and then I'm gonna hold shift and click on the black palette to add the stroke as you see on the status bar over here, and then I'm gonna get rid of the fill of that by pressing X on the keyboard to get rid of that. Alright, and now I'm gonna adjust this curve over here accordingly to our desired, because we're gonna create the dome part from here. Gonna create something like that, smooth it out like this, smooth it out like that, and I think that's pretty good. Or maybe just too much. Like that. Alright, and then I'm gonna get back to the pen tool over here, and I'm gonna left click on this node over here on the bottom, and then I'm gonna hold control and drag it to the left, almost in the middle part, you can find the real part, and then I'm gonna left click on this node over here, so we end up with a shape like this, and then we're gonna create the left part again by duplicating this object, Ctrl+D to duplicate it, as you see. And then I'm gonna flip it horizontally by clicking on this button over here, or by just press H on the keyboard to have it. And I'm gonna hold Control and drag it to the left until it snaps like this. And as you see, it doesn't snap because we doesn't turn on the snapping. So let's turn on the snapping first, and then just snap it like that. And then I'm gonna select both of them, and then we're gonna unify them together into one object. So go to the path, union, and now it's become one object. Alright, and then we'll create the base for the dome part. To do that, I'm going to create a rectangle over here by using the rectangle tool, or by pressing R on the keyboard to have it. And then I'm gonna hold left click and just snap it over here, as well on this one, and just create an object like this. And make sure the corner is all sharp by pressing this make corner sharp icon. And then I'm gonna snap it over here like that. And then I'm gonna hold shift and click on the dome itself, and we're gonna center it vertically in the middle. So go to the object, align and distribute, and it's gonna open up the align and distribute panel, and make sure the relative is set to last like that. And we're gonna align it, center it on the vertical axis like that. And I'm gonna click on this rectangle over here, hold shift and just drag it out like that. And we can have the dome shape like that. Alright, and then I'm gonna select both of them, I'm gonna select all of them, and then I'm gonna duplicate it and set it to the bottom. So Ctrl+D to duplicate it, and then we're gonna flip it vertically by pressing this icon over here, or by pressing V on the keyboard to have it. And again, I'm gonna hold Control and just drag it down like this, like that. And I think it's too big, our object compared to our page. And then I'm gonna select all of them, hold Control and just drag it in like this to make it even smaller like that. There you go. Maybe around that size. And then for this top bottom part, we can do some adjustment with it. We're gonna get rid of this pointy part and just have the smooth out like that. So let's go to the notes tool over here. So I'm gonna press delete on the keyboard on this pointy part, and for this two part I'm gonna convert it into a smooth auto smooth nodes like that, and then just press delete on the keyboard to have it like this. Or maybe you have to adjust it like this, like that. Alright, now we have these two of the the part over here. I'm gonna space it apart even more. Alright, now we have to dome the top as well as on the bottom, and then the next thing to do right now is I'm gonna add the middle part, which is shiny in color like that. As you see, it's just a bunch of rectangle and then a bunch of fully rounded radius rectangle in the middle. So let's do that by using the rectangle tool and create something like this. And or you can just select one of these rectangle and just press Ctrl+D to duplicate it, and then just snap it back like here. And then I'm gonna hold Shift and just drag it in to make it even smaller like that. And then press Ctrl+D to duplicate it. Hold Control and just drag it down like this until it snaps, on this rectangle. Alright, and then we're gonna add the big rectangle in the middle using just rectangle tool like this, like that. And then I'm gonna hold Shift and click on the rectangle, just in the rectangle. I'm gonna align it in the middle on the vertical axis like that. Alright, and then we're gonna add the triple rectangle in the middle that has fully rounded radius. So back to rectangle tool again and just add another fully rounded radius rectangle like this. And then just like this, I'm gonna go to the rectangle or the nodes tool, whichever it is, because it's still in the rectangle properties. So you always end up with these three nodes, and make sure you select these circle nodes and hold left click and just drag it in like this fully until you cannot drag it more. And then I'm gonna press Ctrl+D to duplicate it, and then I'm gonna hold Control and drag it to the right like that. Press Ctrl+D, duplicate it once again, and just do like this. And maybe the snapping is getting in the way, so let's just turn that off like that. Alright, and then select all of them and then just distribute it horizontally like this. And then I'm gonna press Ctrl+G to group them momentarily, and again I'm gonna hold Shift and click on the big rectangle behind it, and make sure the relative is set to last like that. And I'm gonna center it on the vertical as well as on horizontal axis, so it sits perfectly in the middle like that. And then maybe I need to make this even wider as well as this rectangle like that. That's better. Alright, this is the whole shape of the lantern. And now let's create the knot, which is as you see on our preview over here. We have the knot as well as the rope on the top. So we're going to create that. So finally, we're going to use the ellipse tool over here to create the knot of the rope. And then I'm gonna go to this part over here, hold Ctrl+Shift so it locks on the radius to create the perfect rectangle. So just drag it out like this by holding left click, and then I'm gonna turn on the snapping and make sure you turn on the bounding boxes and turn on the center. If you couldn't turn on the center, maybe you uncheck the bounding boxes. So make sure you check the bounding boxes first, then check the centers. So we can snap it in the center like this on this pointy part like that. And then I'm gonna hold Control and just drag it in like this. I'm gonna hold Ctrl+Shift and just drag it in like this. Block the proportions like that. And then we're gonna punch a hole in the middle of it. So press Ctrl+D to duplicate it once again. Hold Ctrl+Shift and just drag it in like this. And then maybe the snapping just get in the way, and just adjust it accordingly like this. And then I'm gonna hold Shift and click on the bigger circle. Go to the path difference. So we have this one object over here. And then let's select all of them because our whole shape of our rectangle is just, done. So let's select all of them. And then let's give it a black color momentarily, of course. and then I'm gonna hold shift and click on the outline to get rid of any outline there is. And then I'm gonna go to the object, fill and stroke, to open up fill and stroke panel, and then I'm gonna make the opacity into 50%. And as you see, we have a couple of errors over here, so just select all of them on the bottom and just, drag it up by holding control like that, and just drag it in until, they become one object. Alright, now let's do some adjustment in here. So I'm gonna select all of this triple rectangle, press Ctrl Shift plus G to ungroup them, and then I'm gonna go to the path union so they become one object, and then I'm gonna hold shift and click on this big rectangle behind it, go to the path difference, so we have something like that, and then we're gonna get rid of this excess, this excess part of the dome, and just select on this donut shape, press Ctrl plus D to duplicate it, hold shift and click on the dome, go to the path difference, go to the path break apart, so the two become one object, and then let's deselect this dome part by holding shift and left click on it, and then end up with this selection on this one. Just press delete on the keyboard because we don't need it anymore. Alright, and then we're gonna add the rope by using just rectangle tool over here, and just make the rope like that, and make sure you make the corner sharp like that, and then make sure the width is adjusted by holding shift and click on this right arrow like that. Maybe just the same width as this, this contour part over here, the hole. And I'm gonna make it in the middle of this object, hold shift and click on the circle. And then I'm gonna go, center it on the vertical axis like that. Alright, now our lantern shape is done as a whole. And then I'm gonna do, some coloring to differentiate it first. I'm gonna select this one, hold control so I'm gonna select this one, hold shift and select on this one. And I'm gonna select on this part over here. This part, I'm gonna select on this one, hold shift and click on this one, and this one, and this one. So as on this one, I'm gonna make it into blue color so you can easily differentiate them. And then I'm gonna select this one over here, hold shift and click on this one, as well as on this rectangle over here, and make them into one object. Go to the path union like that, and then I'm gonna select all of them, and then I'm gonna go to fill and stroke and make sure the opacity is set to 100%. So we have something like this, and for this rope part, make sure it sits on the bottom like that. Alright, now the whole shape is done. It's time for us to do the coloring, and I have the color setup on the in the description down below. Make sure you check that out. And basically we're gonna do some coloring in here with specific color, which is really good, I must say. So let's select this one over here and make the color into this color over here. I'm gonna copy and paste it on RGBA like that. I'm gonna hold control on this one over here, and this time it's gonna be a linear gradient, and then press G to have the gradient tool out, and I'm gonna set the color into something like this, like that. And for this one, I'm gonna left click on that, or you can just select on these tops over here. I just add the color. Alright, and now I'm gonna make adjustment of the position. Make sure the darker one on the bottom and the lighter one is on the top, like that. Alright, I'm gonna select on the note one, and then it's gonna be another linear gradient. I'm gonna adjust the color. Like that. The bottom part is, it's the same color as well as this one. So press D on the keyboard to have the dropper tool, and then hold left click and just drag it out so you can have the color. As well as this one over here, I'm gonna add the linear gradient, and make sure, you have this, gradient and this drop down over here, and add the gradient the same as this one, like that, and then press G on the keyboard to have the, the gradient tool out, like that. Create something like this. Make sure it's on this one, I guess. There you go. It has the darker shade of color. That's what we want. And then for this middle part, which is gold in color, we're gonna add the radial gradient, and then press G on the keyboard, and make sure the outer part has the 100% opacity, and add the color, as well as the middle part over here. We're gonna add the color here, or you can just select on the stops, add like that. And now just adjust the positions of the, I think that's okay. And for the rope, I'm gonna add the color, which is, linear gradient in color. This. Alright, like that. Once the color is done, the gradient, the everything, is time for us to add some shadows as well as some highlights to make it, even better with it. As you see, we have some kind of light over here as well as the shadow and everything to make it even better. So to do that, let's add the shadow. I'm going to add this part over here first. I'm going to press Ctrl+D to duplicate it, and then I'm going to make it into black color. And make sure I'm gonna make it lower until it sits, behind this object over here. And then we're gonna increase the blur like that to add the color. There you go. And then I'm gonna press Ctrl+D to duplicate it on this, bottom part of this dome over here. I'm gonna give it a blue color so we can differentiate it, which is from the actual object. And then I'm gonna select this one, hold Alt, and click it once again until we have the fill as well as the blur, increase, which is we already selected our shadow color. And then I'm gonna hold Shift and click on the blue object that we have just created, and then go to the object, clip, and set clip. As you see, if I increase, I'm gonna raise it to the top like that. Alright, to create the shadow on this part over here, I'm gonna select on this part over here, press Ctrl+D to duplicate it, and then I'm gonna set it into black color, and I'm gonna increase the blur like that. And I'm gonna select this one over here, Ctrl+D to duplicate it, and make sure you turn that on to the back, blue color, because we need to differentiate from everything. And then I'm gonna select on this one over here. I'm gonna hold Control and drag it down like this, and then make sure this part is set to the top, above this shadow color. And then I'm gonna go to the object, clip, and set clip. And you see we already create this over here, this shadow over here. And then I'm just gonna adjust the opacity like that. And we have this shadow in place, which is what we want. There you go. Alright, I'm gonna create the shadow on this part as well. So press Ctrl+D to duplicate it. And I'm gonna hold Control and drag it up like this. And I'm gonna make it the blur even more, like that. And then we're gonna do the same thing with this one over here, this object over here. Ctrl+D, and just drag it out a bit. Increase the blur. There you go. And then I'm gonna press on this one over here as the clipping mask, Ctrl+D, and give it a red color so we can differentiate it from everything. And then I'm gonna hold Alt and click on this top part of it until you see the blur increase as well as the fill. The fill should be black, as well as this one over here. Ctrl+G to group them. Hold Shift and click on the red object. Go to the object, clip, and set clip. So we have the shadow. I'm going to increase the blur like that, and decrease the opacity to smooth it out. Like that. And that's looking pretty good. And then I'm I'm gonna select this one over here, Control plus D to duplicate it, and then I'm gonna make the color black and increase the blur once again. Hold Control and drag it up just a bit, like that. And I'm gonna select this one, this object over here, Control plus D, give it maybe a green color, hold Shift and click on the shadow, go to the object, clip, set clip, increase the blur a bit, smooth it out, and make it even smoother, which is decreasing the opacity. Alright, for this one again, it's the same thing as before, Control plus D to duplicate it, and then just, make the color into black color, increase the blur, hold Control plus Shift, and just drag it out like that. Alright, and then I'm gonna select this one over here, Control plus D, and give it a red color, hold Shift and click on this part, to the object, clip, and set clip, like that, and decrease the opacity. And we're gonna do the same shadow with this one over here, Control plus D to duplicate it, and then increase the size, add the black color, increase the blur, decrease the opacity, and then as the clipping mask, select on this object, the rope, Control plus D, and then just make it into blue color, hold Shift and click on the shadow, go to the object, clip, set clip, and then just lower it until it sits beneath the note. Alright, gonna increase the blur, decrease the opacity. There we go. And then once the shadow is done, it's time for us to add the highlight. So I'm gonna do the pen tool over here, and just as like we create the dome shape, we're gonna create some curve over here, just following the contour of the dome. So left click on this one, hold left click and just drag it out like this. So on this one over here, and now rather than go upward, we'll go downward on this one, and then just make a curve like this, and then back to its starting point. And then I'm gonna make the white color and increase the blur, like that. Increase the opacity maybe a bit, and on this one over here, I'm gonna drag it out. There you go. That's looking better. And then we're gonna do the same part on this one over here, as you see on the bottom. Let's do that. I'm gonna select on this one, Control plus D to duplicate it, flip it vertically, and just put it down over here. That's looking pretty good. And I think the lantern is done. Now we can select all of them, press Control plus G to group them together, and then just put it over here, and hold Control and just drag it in like this, around that. And now it's time for us to add the text itself. As you see over here, it all fitter 1445.8. It's gonna be the text. So let's add the text by go to the text tool over here. I'm gonna left click on this over here, and then I'm just gonna zoom in because it's so small, the text. Hold Control and roll up the mouse wheel. I'm gonna type in the text. And for the font, it's gonna be Poppins, and the style is gonna be heavy. And I'm gonna hold Control and roll down the mouse wheel to zoom out. And then I'm gonna hold Control and just drag it out like this to adjust the size of it. Maybe you need to get rid of the snapping first, so it doesn't get in the way. And then hold Control once again to lock the proportions, so we cannot ruin the text like that, and just adjust the size accordingly like this. Alright, now it's time for us to add the coloring on this one over here. So it's gonna be another linear gradient. So let's select the last top. I'm gonna add the color. Just copy and paste it on the RGBA. Like that. Hex color. And then I'm gonna press G to have the gradient toolbar, and then I'm gonna make the darker shade on this one and the lighter shade on this one. And as you see, it's pretty much done, to be honest. Or even better, you can, add more of a background to it, so it's pop even more interesting, you could say. Alright, to do that, to add the background, we need to add the rectangle tool and make sure you turn on the snapping, and make sure on the snapping you turn on the page borders. Otherwise, the snapping won't work on the page borders. So it snaps on the corner of the page border over here on the top and back to its bottom. So it's side to side, corner to corner, and then I'm gonna lower it to the bottom like this. And then it's time for us to add the gradient, so it's looking more interesting. And this one is gonna be the linear gradient. And then we're gonna add the linear gradient and press G on the keyboard to have it. So the middle part, it's gonna be white, and the last part, it's gonna be somewhat a light grayish color. Now works really well as a as a backdrop. And then I'm gonna add, you can say I'm gonna add another stop which is in the middle of these two stops. I'm gonna select the first stop and I'm gonna press plus to insert the new stop in the middle, and it's gonna be faint yellow in color, and it's looking pretty good. And then I'm gonna adjust the positions of the gradients so it's radiating from the from the lantern shape itself. And then I'm gonna turn off the snapping, and then I'm gonna adjust the position of the nodes of the stop of the gradient, as you see like this. I'm gonna drag it out like this, and it's looking pretty good, and like that, and that's looking pretty good. And you can make it even more pop on the lantern side, which is to add like a backdrop of a shadow. I'm gonna press hold control and click on this bottom part over here, Control plus D, and then I'm gonna turn it into black color and increase the blur like that. And then I'm gonna lower it until its lower sits behind this part over here. Maybe just decrease the opacity like that to smooth it out, as you see. There we go. That's looking pretty good. So yeah, that's how you create the page and the lantern. So that's how you create the beautiful lantern with Inkscape. I hope you learned something new, and happy Ramadan, my friends. And lastly, thank you for your time.